Hey, everybody, welcome to What the Talk. This is our bonus show we recorded live each and every week exclusively on patreon.com/whatthetech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by the hammer fist, Paul Thurrott.
Helm Hammerhand. I'm pretty
Last
good.
week
How
you
are
were
you?
the Thunder. Last week I called you
I
the
see.
Thunder because you got struck by lightning.
Ah, right.
And now you developed the power of Thor, and all your electronics get wacky
Kind
in
of
the
a
house.
Hulk smash kind of
Were
a
you
thing.
able to fix the electric issue? All the
Oh my God, dude. So this is so weird. I haven't been able to fix the Ethernet issue. I literally have just bypassed it. So right now this computer is connected via Ethernet, but it's a different cable. It's like I literally just am bypassing the whole system in here. I just can't figure out what's wrong. I just had this conversation with my wife. So we watch TV for like 20, 25 minutes every day at lunch. And then we watch TV at most, not on weekends, but like Monday through Thursday night, let's say, for a couple hours, like 8 to 10. And for the past, I don't know, whatever it's been, 2 to 3 weeks, I literally, this is awful. Like I go out and I turn on the TV, I run an app and I play some sound just to prime the pump so that the sound will switch over to the sound bar, right? Because that's the weird condition, and I just want it to sound good when I actually watch a TV show. But the last, I don't know exactly because I've been so used to it not working, but I for some reason 3 or 4 times ago, meaning probably 2 days ago, I turned the TV on and I hit the volume button by mistake, and I could tell from the icon on the screen that it was on the sound bar, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get too excited about this. But now I've been testing it. So every time I go out there, I test the volume immediately. It's been working. And I have not changed anything.
Things need to settle down. It's like when you
well,
bang
this
on
is
the
what
TV
I've
and it
heard.
fixes
Lightning. Yeah, this is where science breaks down, dude. Like I've heard from so many people that have been struck by lightning that said, you're going to be dealing with weird shit for a while. Like it's not predictable. And again, look, I could go out there tomorrow and it's not fixed. Like I'm resigned to that. But for some reason over the past, let's say 2 days, maybe 3, but 2 days, the 4 times I've turned on the TV, I've tested it and it's like normal.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, whatever it is, crossing fingers, sacrifice a chicken, whatever
it is.
I don't know. Yeah. I just want it to work. Dude. I just want stuff to work.
Yeah, me too. I want things to work.
The bane of my existence.
So
is
I'm
things
having
that don't work.
I'm having a, I always have Wi-Fi problems in this house. By the way, something cool that we're going to do with this episode, if you're listening to this, you're probably getting it on Patreon, but also as a preview to what we do on the bonus show, I'm releasing it as a podcast and as on YouTube. So you're probably going to get this in your feed Friday, and you're going to say, I thought What the Tech was on Thursday. It got released. So you're getting 2 episodes of What the Tech technically this week as a little preview to show you guys what you get on the bonus show, which is sometimes a lot and sometimes very little. So it's all over the place.
Sometimes even less than you would imagine.
Sometimes even less than you would imagine. So the big problem I'm experiencing is this house was built in 1901. And I'm convinced the walls are just filled with bodies wrapped in asbestos and lead. There's no penetrating any wall in this house for Wi-Fi. Just it doesn't work. So what I had to do, the last set of Verizon routers were actually, I know a lot of people hate it, but the last set was pretty good. The Quantum
Verizon router.
The Quantum routers were not bad. So the last one that I got, when I got Gigabit, it for whatever reason was able to shoot straight up to the second floor, right? But once it reached my bedroom, all the Wi-Fi would die. So one of the benefits of having Verizon is that if you have a Wi-Fi extender from Verizon, it's a network extender, not just a Wi-Fi extender. It connects with the coax cable. So you don't have to run Ethernet. You don't have to do a mesh over the Wi-Fi. You connect it to Ethernet, and it works. It auto-configures based on your main router, and there you go. You have internet wherever you do it. You could have up to 3 of these. So I
would love this.
It's phenomenal. It's actually, I got to tell you, they just released a new one. It's even better. It's $200 for that device. I didn't want it because they have a new router now. It's this white. It almost looks like an Apple router. It's white and circular.
Yeah. Sure.
So when I upgrade that, I'll do that and I'll sell this one or I'll give it away to someone.
I would hand this company thousands of dollars right now if I could
Um,
get FiOS. I'd be
Paul,
so happy.
it makes life so much easier. So what I did
Yeah.
in my bedroom, just connected because I don't have cable anymore, just connected the extender, and I'm getting, almost a gigabit. It's a little slower. You're not going to get the top speed, but you can't do a gigabit anyway on a laptop. You're not going to hit.
Oh no, none of my devices would hit a gigabit no matter what I did. Yeah, for
I
sure.
want to say I'm getting in the 5 or 6 or 7, whatever.
That's awesome.
I can't tell you.
Awesome.
So, however, the big problem that we've had is that we're spending a lot of time in the outdoor space because the backyard's all done. We got the pavers, we got the seating, we got the bar, and there's no cellular service back there. Even though it says 4 bars, there's none. I have no idea why it's the void for any kind of 4G or 5G. No service works. We've tried it on every provider. Nothing works in the backyard. I have.
Have you ever thought about getting a cellular extender? For your house?
That's something I was considering, but they're not that great because I have a. I have Verizon.
Who do you have?
I have Verizon. Okay. The problem is that for whatever reason, this block, half of the block is a dead spot. So from the beginning of the block to about the middle of the block, there's virtually no cell phone service. It's really bad. And then it picks up. But even though it says 4 bars, there's nothing. I've had them come out here. They fixed it at one point, and then it just went to crap again. So I've given up. I've totally given up on that. So what I did, I was like, how can I extend the Wi-Fi without running cables? So I looked it up, and you could have 3 of these extenders. So in my daughter's room, there's a cable line. I just connected it to the cable line, and I have this thing pointing at the window, the extender. Okay. However, the speed is terrible. I'm getting for whatever reason on that device in that room, I'm getting 12 megabits a second.
Yeah.
Instead of, a gigabit.
Yeah.
Or close to. So I figured out it has to do with the coax cable.
Oh, that makes sense.
That
there's 2 kinds of coax, by the way. Maybe they threw thin coax in there. Yeah, there's.
Well, it's 25 years old. That coax.
Yeah, it's probably just. Yeah, you need to maybe rerun the coax.
So now I got to figure out how I'm going to snake a cable from the 3rd floor.
Well, you do it with the old cable, right?
So what do you tie it?
Tie the new cable to the old cable at the bottom and pull it up from the top.
How am I going to get it through that tiny little hole? That's the big problem.
Well, you're gonna have to make a bigger hole.
I'm gonna have to make it bigger, and I'm gonna have to climb the ladder. Or what I could do is
it goes out the outside of your house.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, so sucks. it goes. Through
yeah,
the wall.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. You're gonna have to do it though, and you clip it and.
So the other thing I
even I could do this, Andrew.
Is that there's a splitter. I'm sorry, not a splitter, but an extender, like two female ends.
Yeah,
that connect a
those
coax to a
those
coax.
Could be problematic too.
And I think that may be it too. So I discovered that my son has a thicker wire going into his bedroom. So I'm going to run it through there and see what it does. But that device has now, because I have a network analyzer, like a piece of software that I could see how it's covering it. It's covered the entire freaking house now, and the backyard and the front yard. So I have this dome of great service.
Right.
Of
course, all of your hair is going to fall out, but at least you'll have have a good signal.
You need Cat 5 coax.
Yeah.
So this coax that's in there is probably, I want to say that cable ran when they first went to digital for cable. So I would say 1996-ish, 7-ish.
No, you got to get. Yeah, I bet this is garbage.
It's probably
this house
garbage,
has cable from the 90s. It used to. I mean, we pulled a lot of it out, but yeah, crappy cable plus those T connector things to split the splitters. You got to get rid of all that.
Yeah. You know what's funny? So I don't know if people know this. I bought my childhood house. So I've lived here my whole life, except for a very short period. I had an apartment.
So you know the ghosts.
I know all the ghosts. They talk to me. They're all over the house. But I remember, I know where everything is. And I remember when we got digital cable, our house was always the test in the neighborhood for whatever reason. Like we got DSL in 96. So that's, I would say 3 years before 96, 97, 98, right?
Yeah.
2-3 years before 95, maybe we got it, but it was before everything was happening. At the same time, they did digital cable. and they couldn't figure out why it didn't work in 2 of the bedrooms, and that's because they had one cable getting spliced 4 ways for cable.
Yeah. Did my father put that in? Because that was his method of operation. Yeah.
That's how you did it, right? You didn't need to run a new one. You just spliced it. What's the worst that could happen?
My father wanted 2 like coax inputs in every room in the house, and I'm sure there was. Well, the guy. One time, the guy pulled the thing out. He was like, "What the hell is this?" And it kept splitting, and he's like, "This is, it's like." You own a house. You've had this comment with some contractor. It could be an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, whatever it is. It could be all of them. In my case, it was all of them. Had said one form of, "I've never seen this before."
Yeah.
And it's some guy who's been on the job for like 40 years. He's seen everything. And then he comes to your house and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And like, that's not the reaction. It's like you don't want a surgeon to say that. You don't want an expert to ever be confused.
Well, we had that issue with the upstairs bathroom. So we redid all the bathrooms also during COVID because perfect timing to do heavy construction in your house when the financial institutions and the world is collapsing. Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So they ran it, and one of the bathrooms, it needed, this thing was like 40 years old, right? We gutted the whole thing, ran all new everything. So all of a sudden, like, it was working. Everything was fine for like 2 months. And then all of a sudden, it just started leaking from the tub straight into the basement. So the guy comes, he's like, "Oh," he goes, maybe I didn't do this. Let me do this. Let me fix that. Let me see this. Whatever this guy did not work, right? Did not work. Nothing he did. He was losing mind. It's like, I've been doing this for 40, again, like that. I've been doing this for 40 years, since he was 20 years old. He goes, "I've never had a leak in a bathroom ever. When I sucked, I didn't have a leak. I have no idea what it is." So what he did,
seems like job one.
He's like, "I always use this, I guess, whatever piping it was. I'm not diverse on plumbing, whatever it was using."
Sure.
He's like, "You know what? Let me buy something else and see what it does." He bought another piece, and guess what? Fixed the freaking problem.
So that
he had no idea why. He goes, "There's no logical reason why it fixed the problem. I have no idea."
But he'll probably like just use that now for the rest of his life.
For his rest of his life, yeah. Because he can't come here like,
let's screw it. Like I know this is going to work.
Yeah. It's also, you got to think about. I was thinking about like the electrical work. Like, we updated the electrical panel in the house over the summer. Because we ran the ductless AC units. Like, I got one in my studio now where I'm not dying anymore. Like, you remember the game we used to play? How hot does it get in here? It's a nice 71 consistently in here. It just
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, I had to pay.
Especially with all the electronics you got going there. That's good.
Yeah, I paid $8,000 for this thing, for multi-zone whatever. But it's one of the best investments I did. So when they redid the electrical panel, this guy came. He's like, I'm doing it, right? I'm gonna fix it. I just want to tell you, I have no idea how this has been working. I was like, why? He goes, "I've never seen crappy wiring like this." I'm like, dude, you got to understand. This house, when it was built, had no electric. It had gas powering its lighting fixtures.
And there was a wooden fence that protected us from the Indians.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was
the house was built in 1900. There was no electric when they built this house. So we actually have fixtures that still have gas leading to those fixtures that we kept a couple of them just for like,
it's the look or whatever.
It doesn't work. It's disconnected from name. But originally the electrical panel was in the attic, like the steps going up to the attic. And somebody in 1960 decided, we should move it to the basement. And God knows how they ran this wire. Everything is split and reconnected. And half the wire is the thick cloth ones, the thick gauge cloth wires.
Oh, that's totally unsafe.
And then listen to this. They're connected with tape to regular electric cables, like the modern gauge ones.
Yeah, that way, if one of the normal electric cables has like a short or something, it can make the other one explode. It's good.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yeah, because that's what happens. Like, houses are built today to prevent any little problem in the electrical line from getting beyond a certain point, right? I mean, I can I can only imagine.
I think it's pretty cool. Like, my daughter is at the age now where like she likes like going into like the nooks and crannies of the house to find stuff. Like, it's cool for her because I remember when I was a kid,
she's going to come out with like a pelvic bone and be like, "What's this?
What's this?" Well, we have in the attic, we have a secret door. It's like a little person door, right? We have a little person door. We always used to joke that it was
I grew up
my
in a house
great grandmother.
like that. Yep.
So in the attic, it's like tiny. It's like an actual door, and it leads around. It leads around
like the eaves
the
or
attic.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, there has to be like a special thing that you push.
There's gonna be like a wheat penny in there, a doll that can be used to kill somebody because it's voodoo power.
A couple of years ago, I found my hand. I was doing work in the attic, and my hand went through because it's not sheetrock. It's like plaster, right? But very thin plaster on the wall. My hand went through it, and I heard something fall, and I opened up the bottom, and I found a little satchel filled with Morgans. From 1896, Morgan coins.
Holy crap!
I may have it here.
Dude, that's like the dream, finding something like that in a house.
I found like 8 of them in that thing, right?
That's amazing.
1896.
I mean, now you're thinking it's like pirate booty in here somewhere.
What else is here? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all have the initial MG on them. Somebody carved their initial on them, MG, on all of them.
Wow.
I think I showed it on the air a couple years ago. I got to find it. I think it's in my bedroom. I think I moved it up to the bedroom.
I don't remember ever seeing this.
Huh. Yeah, and they're probably worth like a couple bucks today, But yeah,
sure.
I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to hang on to them. But Morgan dollars, and then there was a bunch of other pennies and stuff like that. But 1896. So I'm thinking it maybe could have been the builder's coins or the first person that moved into the house, and he hid the coins.
Could be anything. I mean, and they sealed it behind. Yeah. It might have literally been like a form of mattress savings, It
probably was. I mean, that was $8, right, from 1886. So how much is that worth?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Lewis in our chat room. I have a Morgan from 1886.
Yeah.
Bob in our chat room is alluding to something interesting. I don't know if I've told the story before on the show. Did Madonna leave the Morgans? So I think you know the story. Madonna used to live in my house
of course.
I want to say the late 70s. Madonna's manager. Of course, Madonna lived here, right? Madonna's manager was this woman named Camille Barbone. And when I was a kid, we used to get letters from the American Music Association and all this, the AMAs and all this stuff, like inviting her to events. And my mother asked one of my neighbors, like, do you know who Camille Barbone is? Because I don't see her on any of like the records that own the house or anything, and we didn't buy it from her. And he goes, oh, you don't know who that is? That was Madonna's manager. Madonna used to live here at some point in the 70s when she used to do all the nightclubs on Northern Boulevard. She used to perform here in Queens. And it was... But it's not like Madonna that we know today. It was like starving artists.
Yeah.
It was like 20 musicians living in this house. And my father goes, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. I was a kid. And I go, why? He goes, this effing place looked like it was a whorehouse when we bought it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, there were gowns everywhere. And it was, first of all, the house was destroyed, right? Destroyed.
It was like the place where the Manson family used to live,
I'm not even joking.
Spahn Ranch.
Not even joking. There were green swastikas all over the walls in the master bedroom, covered with wallpaper. When they pulled the wallpaper, there were green swastikas all over the wall. It was a wreck. It was this.
Andrew, that was all that was holding the demon in. I hope you didn't remove them.
And now I've released it. It explains a lot.
Like the next movie in the series will be
Yeah. But that's the story. Madonna used to live in this house, and every now and then they do this thing called Forgotten New York, where they do like tours. Forgotten New York is one of them, but there's a couple of them. And every now and then, somebody in the neighborhood knew the story that Madonna lived here, and we'll have like a walking tour of the neighborhood, and they'll start snapping photos of the house. It's like a weird Bayside thing.
Yeah.
But Madonna lived here. Also, a guy named Drunk Henry, which I think I don't know if I told you the story. If you got to run, I could tell you next week. It's actually a fascinating World War II story.
Okay.
You got time now? Because it'll take like 5 minutes. Okay. So, when in the neighborhood, everybody says, I own Drunk Henry's house. Drunk Henry. This poor guy, he was widowed. And after he was widowed, he was always off. Like, since they said something happened at his job and he went nuts and he was always off.
What's the time frame for this? When was he a thing?
He was a thing up until probably the mid-70s, living in this house. Okay. And then they sold it to this Greek guy, and the Greek guy rented it to Madonna, and then we bought it, right? So, this guy, I'm guessing he was maybe the second owner of the house, because he lived here during World War II. And he was younger at that time, right? He was a writer for the New York Times. So Drunk Henry would go to the liquor store on the corner, every day, and he would shuffle his feet, and he had 2 things of vodka, and he would drop that thing as soon as he got to the block. He would drop the bags. And because Drunk Henry was a drunk, he was this mean old drunk that would yell at everybody. So I didn't know this story about Drunk Henry, but in like 1995, we were renovating the basement, and we knocked the wall down, and in the wall was another wall with shelves with print presses, like the bits to do print newspaper.
Yeah. That's really cool. The movable type.
Yeah, lined up at like already in place.
See, that would be a cool decoration, you know.
I have it all. It's in a bucket in my garage.
Yeah, you should. You know what I mean. You could arrange them They have little rows and
like tons of it, right? Tons of it.
Yep.
And with letters wrapped around, like these letters everywhere, and newspaper clippings and articles and stuff like that. And in the articles, it was generally most of the articles were about the war and how the Nazis had made it to Long Island. Right? That's
right. Okay. Yep.
Right? They were in the Hamptons, and this guy was writing about how there's
New York has a proud history of being invaded.
Yes.
Even in World War, for somehow the only place the Nazis made it was Long Island.
Yeah, which they did. The U-boats came up ashore on the Hamptons.
Yep.
So this guy was writing about that, and in his little journal, you could figure out that this guy was a little bonkers, because he started saying how he was being followed. He would take the train to work, and he was being followed whenever he would get onto the block. He would be asked for his documents, and he wrote in one of them, which I still have in my attic, about how he didn't want to provide his paperwork, and he went through the neighbor's yard. Who was asking him for this? He's claiming the government, military, police, whatever. I don't know the word that he used. He said something.
Why on earth?
Why on earth would they ask him for his papers, right?
We don't know.
So I always thought this freaking guy was crazy. And going back to the story of Drunk Henry, you find out that this guy was really a lunatic, right? Fast forward to about 6 years ago maybe, my neighbor that has an identical house to mine but mirrored across the street is selling the house, and they were getting ready to move. And I said, hey, do you mind if I come in there? Because I'm always fed, like, I want to see how different it is, or like what, because his house was all original and mine was updated. He's like, come in. And I've known these guys my whole life. So I go in, and we're doing the house. He's giving me the tour. It's identical. You know, they got a couple things different. Like they have a separator in the wall to separate the dining area from the living area, which we had to. And he takes me to the attic, and the attic, the only thing it resembled was an operating room. Stainless steel everything, like metal workbench, metal wall, just very, very
why,
right? And this guy was an architect, so I assumed in my mind at that moment, I'm like, maybe that's like his design. He's an architect, whatever. I asked him, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Surgery up here? Like, as a joke. He's like, actually, that's really funny, because we always joke about that. He goes, no, I don't know if you know this, but the guy that owned the house that we bought it from, he was this older guy, moved down to Florida. You can look him up. He gave me his name, and I wish I remembered the name, because I actually looked the guy up on Wikipedia and I found him.
Okay.
He was one of the guys that worked on the prototype for the Manhattan Project.
Oh, wow.
Okay. At that moment,
so was he building stuff up in his attic?
He was building stuff up in his attic. And then at that very moment, the switch flipped.
This is why people were asking about Drunk Henry, because
papers. See, I got goosebumps when I talk about this. It's such a, this poor guy thought they were after him, and his whole life trajectory changed because of this very moment. Because he thought they were after him. Instead, they were government officials protecting the guy working on the freaking nuclear bomb. He was on the team. He was one of the head guys on the team for the Manhattan Project. He moved down to Florida. I want to find out if anybody could help find this guy. I want to. You should.
By the way, there were books about this. You should read a book about the Manhattan Project, and you'll probably see his name, and it will trigger.
So when I looked his name up on and he came up on Wikipedia, it was a black and white photo of him. I still remember the photo. And it's in black and white. He's a thinner guy. Yes,
you can find this guy.
I'm sure I can.
Manhattan Project,
Bayside, Queens.
Queens.
I looked it up. I couldn't find it. I looked it up.
This will be found.
Yeah, somebody could find this. I'm positive somebody could find this. But what a it's a
There was a woman named Weddingfeld.
no, it wasn't that. I want to say the name was with an F. I could be wrong. I mean, it's I kicked myself in the ass for not saving it because I was so fascinated because this is really like, it's World War II. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's such a fascinating topic. But this freaking guy worked on a Manhattan Project, and poor drunk Henry became a drunk because he lost his effing mind, thinking the feds were after him, to the point that he hid all this stuff
when
in the
they
walls,
were in fact,
and had nothing to do with
there.
Yeah, yep.
That's funny.
Yep, and I pieced.
I feel like you should be able to find this.
I definitely can. The only person that would have remembered him passed away about 6 months ago. One of my neighbors that would have remembered this guy.
Yeah.
John says Carl Cohen. Is it possible Carl Cohen? Carl P. Cohen. Did he say it? No, he died in California. His death. It wasn't Carl Cohen because the death was sometime in the 90s. And it was Florida. I mean, I want to say it was Pensacola, Florida.
It can't be. Oh no, Enrico Fermi is a famous person. Was an Italian physicist.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. I gotta find it. I probably have it somewhere that I saved or wrote it down, and I'm sure that somebody will be able to discover this. It's the freaking internet, right? We got a bunch of people watching right now.
Yeah.
It was.
Excuse me.
It wasn't Enrico. It wasn't Enrico.
For me, I know he's famous, obviously.
Yeah. Max Kaufenborg was born in Bayside and worked on the project. Could it be this guy? Let's see. I could tell you right now if I see it. Max
what?
Kaufenberg died at 97. He is from Bayside. He did work on the Manhattan Project. He's from Flushing. Let me see. Does he had a Wikipedia? I found it before. Did he die in Florida? He died at 97, at age 97 in 2017, which I don't think it's him because this guy died way earlier. Service, no, it's not him because this guy died in Fresh Meadows, and he's from here too, Bayside. Definitely wasn't him. This guy definitely moved to Florida because that's one thing I'm sure of because when I looked it up on Wikipedia, it matched exactly what this guy was saying. Not that the guy was lying to me, but I was just curious to look it up. But I guess we had another guy that worked on the Manhattan Project that lived in Bayside.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the Manhattan Project for a reason.
Yeah,
so,
it explains a lot.
I mean,
but very interesting. I found this a lot of history, which I'm really. I like that stuff. And that's what happens when you have a 120-year-old house.
Yep.
You find arrowheads on the floor. I'm sure there's dead horses somewhere in my yard, buried, because it was a stable. Right. There were no cars.
Yep.
It used to be a stable back there.
Colonial pottery buried in
colonial
the
pottery. Yeah, a lot of colonial pottery. But unfortunately, what sucks? I can't find any information about this house prior to 1936. Because they weren't doing the census before that.
You must have a historical.
There's a Bayside Historical Society.
Yeah.
In Fort Totten, which was a famous Civil War.
I mean,
barrack.
Sometimes it's fun just to go to a place like I did this in Dedham. You can kind of just look through their old photographs.
Yeah.
We had some prints made when we lived in Dedham. From the olden days.
So the other thing, fascinatingly, Fort Totten is a famous military base. I believe they used it during the Civil War, which is not. It's like 5 minutes walking from let's say 10 minutes walking from my house. That's where they had one of the final Game of Thrones when people were going all over to find these things. It was right by my house. It was literally last year. It was like a couple blocks away from my house. Nice. Which is fascinating to do. Man, that's when life was fun before everything going on, huh? You could actually go and do things.
Jeez. I'd give anything to be complaining about what I was complaining about last year, whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
I hate the reminders that I get, like moments on my phone.
Oh my
Facebook
God.
does it. And then I look back and I'm like, oh my God, this was like a year ago, but it feels like it was like 20 years ago.
we have that smart display in the kitchen, and normally it's wonderful, right? It's all these memories and things. But this whole summer has been a cavalcade of photos of previous home swaps in Europe and all the stuff we did in the summer, and it's like we're not going anywhere.
Let's see.
It's just,
Let's see memories
stuff.
here. I believe I was at a Rangers game. That doesn't make sense. Rangers weren't playing now. What did it tell me? Rangers game. Let's see. Moments. Oh. Memories. A year ago. Portrait of 2019. Oh, I was in Los Angeles. Of course I was. I'm always in LA. I'm habitually in LA. Every memory I have, I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yep. I was in LA this week. Freaking great. Unbelievable.
Today, no, actually 2 days ago, but 2 days ago, 6 years ago, we were flying home from Barcelona.
Interesting. Yeah, because this is the time in the end of August, you're always away. And I end up having Brad or Mary Jo on. Wild. But that's today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys got a nice. If you could help me find this guy, I could even, if you DM me, I could tell you what street he lived on. Also, Gentleman Jim Corbett, the boxer.
I feel like you're going to find this guy. I don't understand. I'm surprised.
I have it written somewhere. I have it saved somewhere. I'm positive I took a screenshot of it because I was so I was so fascinated by it.
Yeah, it just seems like this would be not easy, but doable,
But I figured out why Drunk Henry became a drunk. I mean, that's a great. Forget about the Manhattan Project. I figured out why this poor man's life got ruined.
Poor Drunk Henry.
Poor Drunk Henry. And he would go. We had this. Apparently, he hated the people that lived behind the house, and he would constantly go and scream at her. And she didn't understand a word of English. She was Spanish. And she would just scream at her about nonsense. And that's all they would hear is these two old people just screaming two different languages at each other constantly.
Nice.
Yeah. Welcome to Bayside. Home of the blue-collared lunatic. It's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Now it's just me revving my exhaust in honor of Drunk Henry to disrupt the neighborhood.
Sure. You should get a custom license plate that's like a 6-letter version of Drunk Henry.
I do have a custom. I did have a custom license.
Is it OBR CMP?
What is that? OBR CMP?
Overcompensating.
Yeah. If I could compensate anymore, if I could afford to compensate, I would have bought a Corvette if I could overly compensate even more.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's it for this week. We'll see you all next time. Take care.